Hey guys, Level Alone here. Welcome to my Elsword beginner raid guide video. In this guide today, we'll go over the different role types in Elsword, party forming, party optimizing, and knowing your character. Let's get into it. In Elsword, there are three main types of roles: DPS, or damage per second, support, and synergy. DPS classes make up the majority of the game's available character paths. DPS classes are usually the ones responsible for forming raid parties and making sure the party is optimized around their character or themselves and their duo DPS. Their main responsibility is to deal the damage to the boss while the supports enable maximum output. Piloting on DPS is extremely important. You have to make sure you know your class's capabilities and how to pilot them. There are currently 8 healer classes in the game, making up 13% of the game's roster. A healer is vital to any team and will serve as the lifeline for everyone's health and mana. All healers have a freeze ability. This means that you will be responsible as a healer for opening up opportunities for your DPS players to dish out massive damage. While enemies are frozen, they can be debuffed heavily, without threat of attack. There are some instances where the bosses cannot be frozen, and in most cases you will only be able to freeze once every 90 seconds or so. There are specific freeze timers for each boss and each raid, so make sure you check out some raid guides to find proper timings. Generally, as a healer support, you're typically expected to bring in the green artifacts for your master artifact and the Sage gear from the Amethystine Prophecy set. Sage gear provides a 10% all-skill damage boost to the whole party and a 10% critical damage boost to the entire party as well. Synergetic DPS, or sometimes referred to as a Synergy DPS, these are characters that can deal great damage while also providing incredibly helpful buffs to the party and team. Synergy DPSs are extremely useful in raid parties, and most duo DPS parties, or parties with 2 damage dealers, will revolve around 2 Synergy DPSs. It's important as a Synergy DPS to upkeep your main buffs and debuffs as often as possible to maximize your damage and your team's. Using the Party Finder in-game, you're able to let other players know you're looking to clear certain content. The Party Finder is extremely useful for filling out slots and allowing you to see exactly who's applying to join you and help out. There are 3 party types in Elsword. A standard party is your regular dungeoning party, a 1 to 4 man party that can run general content. A raid party is made for raids or large party content. This 6-man setup allows for very strong party optimization, allowing you to form with even up to 4 DPS or synergy characters and 2 supports. The striker party is made for RAN raid and challenge mode content. In RAN, striker parties are split into 2 4-man teams. These teams enter individually into each dungeon, and as one side of the party clears their half of the raid, the other side will receive beneficial effects while inside. Optimizing a party can be pretty hard. Generally, here are some things to look for. If you're trying to run with one player doing all the DPS in the game, you're going to want a healer with Sage and green artifacts, a debuffer or utility support, sometimes a second healer could take this slot, a Synergy DPS, and your main hypercarry DPS, sometimes called the selfish DPS as they may have less synergy for the party than the other classes. For runs with 2 Synergy DPS dealers, you're going to want a healer with Sage and green artifacts, a debuffer or utility support, or an additional healer can take this spot, and the 2 Synergetic DPSs with optimal effects for the party. The best type of party for you will depend on how much knowledge you have on the character you're playing. For example, as a Flame Lord main, I value the effects of magical attack power or skill damage boosting, cooldown acceleration, and speed increases to maximize my damage output. My optimal party would be Prophetess, Demercio, and Celestia for maximum output of my own damage. This party composition takes advantage of Prophetess's cooldown acceleration and magical amplifications, Demercio's excellent healing and cooldown acceleration, and Celestia's powerful cooldown shredding, magic amp, skill amp, and supplemental mana. When forming or joining parties, it's important to take a look at the composition and see if this party is going to work well or not. It's super important to know your character and know everybody else's character. Knowledge is a huge part of this game, and going through and reading everyone's passives may take a lot of time. However, there are some resources put out by the community to help mitigate the learning curve. I hope that this video helps someone out there with their journey and makes the forming process a little more clear. Remember, know your character's strengths and weaknesses, know your team and what they can provide for you, or what you can provide for them if you're a support, and don't be afraid to get in there and get smacked a little. The fun of raiding is the challenge that comes along with it. Thank you for watching the video. I'll see you all in game.